Hey folks, I thought I'd write a blog today, but since it's end of semester and I've been writing papers all semester, I thought I would just do a video and share a little bit from what's going on with me. I'm in my office here at the church, and don't take this out of my salary. This is like my lunch hour or something, so don't worry about it. But I know a lot of you have been following our blogs lately and reading all the blogs Laura has included on our journey into adoption. And I know some of you might be sitting at home saying, well, what does Steve think about this? We know Laura's gung ho. We don't know about Steve. Well, I figured since I haven't said much, I want to get on and address in a few blogs maybe some of the criticisms or challenges that come to us on adoption and just see where we can go from there. One of the first ones that I wanted to address today was the idea that adoption is a relatively new fad in Christianity. A few days ago, Laura posted of a man named George Mueller who definitely was not part of this new fad right now. He was a while ago. And I would also argue that there are other great men in history and outside of the Bible which also has this idea of caring for orphans. And this is not a new fad. This is not something that just started in Christianity. One of the greatest examples of this is probably my favorite Christian spiritual hero that I have, Charles Spurgeon. And if you know anything about Charles Spurgeon, he was a great preacher. He's known as probably one of the greatest preachers of all times. He had a great beard. That's one reason why I'm growing my beard out right now, because I think Charles Spurgeon's a manly man and I want to be like him. Well, beyond just preaching thousands of sermons and publishing magazines and publishing books and all this stuff, Charles Spurgeon is known as a man who started over 100 organizations for Christ. One of those such organizations was an orphanage. You see, in the summer of 1866, Spurgeon goes to his church, the largest church in London, and says, I feel like God is calling us to do something more, something bigger, longer term. I don't want us just to be a church that comes and enjoys my preaching. I want to do something bigger. And I also want us to pray that God would provide the financial needs for that. Well, pretty soon after that, they receive a letter from a lady named Mrs. Hilliard. Mrs. Hilliard in the letter says that she wants to pledge £20,000 to the work among orphan boys. And Spurgeon said, this must be a mistake. So he gets at one of his leaders in his church and he goes to visit this lady. And as they approach the home, it's a modest home and doesn't look extravagant at all. So Spurgeon has a plan. So he goes in and he sits down with her and he says, I'm here to talk about the £200 that you pledged to us. And the lady looks at him and says, oh, you must be mistaken. I meant to write £20,000. And Spurgeon kind of laughed to himself and said, yes, that's what it said, but we thought you must have been mistaken. And she said, no, that's what I meant. And within a month after that, this lady had given the £20,000. Spurgeon purchased land and begun construction on a home for boys. And it goes that Spurgeon built these individual homes for the boys and revolutionized how orphans were taken care of, because orphans used to be just grouped in one big home, and it's not very nice place to live, very dirty. But Spurgeon said, I want this to be a nice place for these boys to live. And he did, and many boys came. And within 10 years, he also opened an orphanage for girls. And by the end of his life, Spurgeon had cared for so many orphans. And it's just said that as he would come and visit them and pray for them, that they would just love on him. And you see, Charles Spurgeon was not just a man who cared about preaching. Charles Spurgeon cared about living out his faith. I want to read a couple of excerpts from a biography on Spurgeon. The orphanage was a lasting demonstration of the fact that Spurgeon's faith was not mere theology, but it produced good works. It was the kind of project that was widely regarded with strong will and many were moved both to pray for it and to give towards its support. The almshouses, caring for widows, and the orphanage were, of course, the fruit of Christianity, and they stood out in sharp contrast to the lack of such institutions among the unbelievers. England had then its free thinker societies and its agnostic associations, but those organizations did nothing to help the poor and the suffering. They labored to denounce Christianity, but they knew nothing of self-sacrifice for the sake of the needy. Like the Levite in the parable, they passed by on the other side. To an agnostic who one day accosted him and challenged his Christian beliefs, Spurgeon pointed out the failure of the unbelievers' organizations to take on any definite and sustained program of help to the thousands of needy around them. In contrast, he pointed out the works that sprang from evangelical Christianity, such as himself, and he closed the conversation by paraphrasing the triumphant cry of Elijah, vigorously asserting as well as he might, "The God who answereth by orphanages, let him be God." That's my prayer for us as Christians, is that we would be a caring people, that we would demonstrate our theology and our faith by how we care for the needy. And that is one of the things that God has challenged Laura and I to do in adoption, and to care for the orphans and foster care and to pray for orphans. And I want to challenge you to do that. This is not a new fad in Christianity. This was, unless you call the Bible a new fad, this is something that is age old, and that Jesus Christ had in his heart as he came and he died so that we may be adopted into his family. That's my prayer for us. And I challenge you to not just think that this is a new fad, but realize that this is a Christian response to the needy. Thanks, and I look forward to sharing a little bit more with you later. Bye.